Yeah, I don't think so. Honestly, if this thing were to turn around and try to smack the King of Curses himself, I really don't think so.
Thank you to our fellow patrons Riddle 4765, Midnight Gem Lord, Sean, Alex, Ice Rose, and Demix LND. And another thank you to our $3 members, Recliner Plays and Riddle 4765. And another very big thank you to our $10 patrons Robbie Uchiha, Idel Kami, and Joaquin. And another very big thank you to our $25 member, Alex Ice Rose.
Before I'm in this breakdown / discussion on whether or not anybody within the world of Jujutsu Kaisen can beat the new Mahoraga, please remember leave your own thoughts on who could be the new Mahoraga in the comment section down below. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also hit that little notification bell to miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do have a Patreon down below, each support as low as $1 a month to get things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. You can also not become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Now, let's hop into the discussion. What's up, guys? Pencil here, and so, unless you've been living under a rock, if you happen to be on the internet, you now know that Sukuna has dropped to Mahoraga. However, need I remind you, this is not just any Sukuna that's dropping the Divergent Divine General of the 8-handled blade, Mahoraga. No, this is, as far as we'll likely see in the narrative, this is a 20-finger Sukuna. 20-finger. Even being generous. Let's be generous and say we haven't really seen 20-finger Sukuna yet. The cursed energy substitute from the main body just wasn't enough. You really need that last piece of that soul, and it'll get like a 50 billion times amp. 19-finger Sukuna. Plus the leftover cursed energy that was maintained within the body that was mummified of Sukuna. That is the current Sukuna that has dropped Mahoraga. Now, I'll admit, it's hard to tell that, because Mahoraga looks no different at all. But for all intents and purposes, if the previous examples of the Shikigami, of the 10 Shadows technique, are anything to go off of, cursed energy output and the level of cursed energy one has when using the 10 Shadows technique matters drastically to the abilities and strengths of the Shikigami. Look at regular Nue and look at full-size Nue. Look at the regular Divine Dogs, look at the new Divine Dogs. Legitimately, everything gets bigger and better. Even the Max Elephant, which was already an elephant that in, Chimera Shadow Garden had the weight of a real elephant, gets even girthier under the influence of Sukuna. So, for all intents and purposes, this is not the Mahoraga we saw in Shibuya. Heck, it's not even the Mahoraga we saw within the Sendai colony. No, this is an entirely new, entirely fresh, entirely juicy Mahoraga slopped up with the King of Curses full power. We're close enough to the full power that I think we're going to see. I don't think Gojo's going to randomly hand Sukuna the last finger. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Sukuna fans. I don't see that happening. But, of course, with this being the case, a question arises. Who can actually, beat this thing? Especially if it's, like a video game. And you may be wondering, what do I mean? But, remember, Mahoraga adapts to things. It does. And whenever Mahoraga adapts, it is at least resistant to what's happened before. It's not immune. We know that Mahoraga doesn't develop absolute immunity, but it is pretty resistant to the things it's been hit by. So if you want to say that Mahoraga has adapted to everything, like this is the same Mahoraga that we saw in the 15-finger fight, just amped with more cursed energy. This is the same Mahoraga we saw back in Shibuya, just amped by more cursed energy. Then realistically, this Mahoraga has already adapted to Cleave and Dismantle and Creation, and seemingly enough, based on the fact that that wheel was spinning and grinning in the Shadow Realm, all of the abilities that are known of Gojo, since Sukuna was face tanking for Mahoraga. So here's the question, the little issue that we have at hand. Can anyone actually stop this thing with things we already know? Now, don't get me wrong. I have another video in the oven right now talking about how I think Gojo's going to beat Mahoraga. Because, I don't know, I feel like it'd be underwhelming if Mahoraga just came out and smacked its meat on Gojo. But, with that being the case, I'm simply going to use things that we know exist within the series to try to see if any of them could beat the new Mahoraga, the one that's amped by 19 finger plus body, aka 20 finger Sukuna levels of cursed energy. I'm going to run through everyone who's relevant. I'm sorry for all -5 of you Panda fans out there, but I don't think I need to convince you that that little chibi thing is not doing anything to Mahoraga. Same thing with the Numaki fans, same thing with Momo fans, same thing with any, like, come on now. Look at me in the eyes, Kusakabe fans. All 3 of you, look at me in the eyes. Tell me, what do you think he's going to do? Mei fans, really? What do you think? Do you think the Bird Strike is going to one-shot Mahoraga? Okay. Look me in the eyes and tell me that for real. So, I'm not going to cover any characters that realistically stand no chance, because they stand no chance. And I'm going to quickly glaze over one character who does need some glazing for me, because admittedly I've been slandering him for a while. Let's talk about Yuta real quick. I already made a video on why I don't think Yuta can beat Mahoraga, and here's the big reason why. Yuta doesn't have any super large scale attacks that we know of. Once again, there are a couple techniques he realistically should have access to at this point, based on either A, his training for a month, or B, techniques he hasn't shown us yet, or C, his battle in Sendai. Granted blast. But even with that, since we're not talking about that today, we're just talking about what Yuta has shown, I'm sorry, Mahoraga's not dying to curse speech. This is not happening. Yuta's not going to be able to roll up and say, "Doi," and then Mahoraga's going to "Doi." Like, that's not going to happen. I'm sorry, bro. It's not going that way. Drew Shikigami technique. The Shikigami would eat Mahoraga, and then Mahoraga would eat the Shikigami. I'm sorry. It's just not possible. Hey, even sky manipulation, as cracked as sky manipulation is, all Mahoraga needs to do is eat one thin icebreaker. And if Ryu can eat one thin icebreaker, Mahoraga can definitely eat one thin icebreaker. And bada bing, bada boom, it adapts a thin icebreaker, and then Yuta can't do anything. So, Yuta, I'm sorry, he just doesn't have one cut. Even with Rika's big, juicy, giga thick Omega Love Blast, it's too small. like it's crazy to say, but it's too small for it to really do any real damage to Mahoraga. At best, it may get a limb, or may put a hole in Mahoraga, but then Mahoraga heals that off, spins, and suddenly that doesn't work anymore. And I don't see Rika beating Mahoraga in a battle of fisticuffs, considering Rika could literally get one-tapped and likely speed blitzed by Mahoraga, considering, Mahoraga has the RCT blade, or the positive energy blade, that would one-shot Rika, considering it is still a cursed spirit. So, Yuta, no chance. But let's cover some other heavy hitters, some beefy boys. Let's cover a certain someone who, according to Yuta himself, is stronger than him when on a roll. And that certain someone is Hakari Kinji. And I hate to report to you, Hakari fans, but your man stands no chance. Like, negative chance. Like, I swear, like, legitimate, I'm not even sure he could get Jackpot off. Because if Mahoraga could just casually grin and stab Unlimited Void and casually destroy the barrier, what do you think Idle Death Gamble's going to do when it gets stabbed by Mahoraga? What do you think Hakari's going to do when it gets stabbed by Mahoraga? Like, think about it. For Hakari to even enter Jackpot, he's going to have to play a game with Mahoraga. He's going to have to open that domain and get to spinning. And we know for a fact, Hakari is fully capable of dying inside his domain. If you just one-shot Hakari good enough to the point where he can't activate Renewal or use respins, then bro just dies. Kashimo specifically waited so that wouldn't happen because he wanted to slay an immortal man. He just wanted to do that. Kashimo could have annihilated base Hakari, but he just didn't. And unfortunately, unless Hakari, once again, since we aren't covering hypotheticals or unknowns, unless Hakari has some super secret, crazy, brazy, next level technique hidden away, all the man can do is punch. Infinite cursed energy, and all he can do is punch really, really hard. And the thing is, he doesn't even punch that hard. Okay, he does punch hard, don't get me wrong. Infinite cursed energy on a beefy boy like Hakari is something. But, I'm sorry, Hakari is not going to beat down 20-finger Mahoraga with his bare hands. He's not going to exercise Mahoraga by beating it to death with his bare hands. Mahoraga would take a few hits, adapt, and then smack Hakari. Literally beat the brakes off that man. It is embarrassing. And that's that's being generous and saying Hakari starts the battle in Jackpot. Because if he doesn't, he loses. He literally gets Perception Blitz. He would get Perception Blitz by the Sukuna not the Sukuna, by the Mahoraga that appeared way back when in Shibuya. Yeah, that Mahoraga that was summoned by Megami Fushiguro, yeah, the Untamed one, that would speed blitz and one tap Hakari, considering it was able to actually land a hit on 15 finger Sukuna. And I'm sorry, y'all, even at my most generous, I can't see base Hakari doing the same thing to 15 finger Yuji body Sukuna. If you really need me to explain the scaling, no you don't. You do not. Let's not even play these games. So, it really is just unfortunate for Hakari. Even with infinite cursed energy, he just lacks anything that could genuinely one-shot Mahoraga. Maybe being super generous and slopping Hakari off so much you would think I'm Kirara, he may be able to do damage. Maybe? Like, let's be super generous and say he punches off an arm or something. And then he sends Mahoraga flying. Mahoraga's wheel spins, it regrows its arm, and then it milli rocks all over Hakari's body till he's not immortal anymore. And even then, I'm not sure, with the kind of velocity, the kind of speed that Mahoraga should be capable of moving at, to the point where Gojo couldn't hit it with a red before it stabbed Unlimited Void and ended that bad boy, the kind of speed that Mahoraga has, I don't think Jackpot Hakari's keeping up. I think Jackpot Hakari is literally being reduced to atoms. Call Hakari the Infinity Stones, because he's not going to be relevant in the plot anymore after trying to fight Mahoraga. That boy gets smacked up. And presumably, I'm not sure how smart Mahoraga is. Like, I don't think it has like a 50 million battle IQ. It's smart enough to grin when it knows it's done something good, which is so hilarious to me. The fact that it just started cheesing after popping Unlimited Void, like, yeah, it's me. I'm Mahoraga. Like, okay, bro, keep it up. Number 3 in the verse, I see you. But with that being the case, Mahoraga just smacked this beat on the table, all over Hakari's face, all over Hakari's food, all in Hakari's food. Like, legitimately would absolutely annihilate Hakari. I'm sorry, Hakari fans, he just stands no chance. Call me back when he can do something other than punch really, really hard. Okay. Speaking of people who can punch really, really hard, and speaking of people who have interacted with Hakari, yeah, Kashimo Hajime. Unfortunately, once again, he suffers from, like, maybe he could damage Mahoraga, but he just doesn't have, like, a big enough AoE-ish attack to really deal with Mahoraga. Because let's be generous. Once again, let's just make a nice, generous assumption and assume that Mahoraga doesn't speed blitz the soul out of Kashimo. Let's just assume that. Let's level out their speed stat, even though they should literally not be in the same tier at all. So let's just say let's say Mahoraga stands there. Just straight stands there for like a whole minute. And Kashimo starts swinging. Boom, 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 boom. And just starts popping off. Just starts smacking Mahoraga up. And Mahoraga just standing there, eating it, because I don't know. None of Kashimo's punches seem like they individually are able to do that much damage. Or at least it doesn't seem like they would be able to. I don't know. I really don't know if Mahoraga can eat what Mahoraga can eat when it was summoned by Megami. Can't imagine what it can eat now. But with that being the case, Kashimo punches the thing a whole bunch. Kashimo activates the bolt through his cursed energy tree. Kashimo watches as the bolt magically tears through Mahoraga. And then Mahoraga heals. And then Mahoraga is immune to electricity. And then even the little stun lock effect that Kashimo had, worthless. All that extra juice he's got, worthless. And the next lightning bolt he tries to fire, worthless. Like, legitimately, Kashimo once again suffers from the fact that the bolt's too pinpoint. Like, notably, if Kashimo had, like, maybe Nue-sized lightning bolts in his back pocket, like those big old things that were, like, taking up whole sections of building, maybe if he had that kind of lightning size, he may be able to do a decent chunk to Mahoraga. But unfortunately, since he doesn't, he literally just has like a tiny little thin electrical current. If he somehow manages to get the bolts off, it's not gonna do anything. It's not gonna suddenly provide himself anything too crazy. There's just nothing. Like, I straight up admit, there's nothing that Kashimo could do. He may put up a decent fight, but even then, I don't know. At least in my opinion, there's nothing to suggest that even Kashimo could tag a 15-finger Sukuna in the same way that a Megami Mahoraga did. Not to talk of not just a Sukuna Mahoraga, but a 19-finger plus cursed energy body, that Sukuna. There's nothing that Kashimo has that implies that, at least in base. Once again, I do plan to make a video on Kashimo's hypothetical technique, but at least at this moment in time, once again, for the context of this video, specifically using what we know, there's like nothing. I don't know. There's like genuinely nothing that he could do. Once that bolt gets adapted to, once his cursed energy trait gets adapted to, that could be even worse. Like, maybe he doesn't even get the bolt off, or if he does get the bolt off, it does no damage, because the bolt is a byproduct of his cursed energy trait. So if Mahoraga adapts to the cursed energy trait, boom, he's good. Like, that's it. There's nothing else that can really happen to him. And then Mahoraga dices Kashimo to bits. Because once again, Mahoraga should be more than capable of doing that. Even if Kashimo isn't a curse, it still should be pretty light work for the Divine General to just tear Kashimo limb from limb. And before Kashimo knows what happened, he's literally just a, let's just say, a speck on the wall, to be generous. Because once again, the speed scaling is so far in Mahoraga's favor. The lack of, like, human emotion is so far in Mahoraga's favor. And Kashimo, I just don't see him taking it. Like, legitimately, I just do not see him taking it with what he's shown now. Hypothetically, if he were to whip out a certain technique or call in some friends who have a little something that they could drop on Mahoraga, then maybe I'm still a little bit iffy on whether Kashimo would even engage in Jujutsu jumping, or if he would just want to fight on his own. So he couldn't even use the friends. He doesn't have to rely on his unknown technique. So that's the thing. That unknown variation of it, just with the way how it works, a cursed energy trait in some good hands is not cutting it against 20-finger Mahoraga. Then who's left? Like, we covered Yuta, we covered Hakari, we covered Kashimo. Who you want me to cover next? Earl? She has the exact same issues as Yuta. Earl has the exact same issues, word for word, bar for bar, as Yuta. Because unfortunately, Thin Icebreaker, despite being a space-shattering attack, does not have that much effective damage. It simply doesn't. If Yuta's able to use it on Ryu's stomach, and Ryu's stomach is still intact, if Earl's able to use it on Yuta, and all he has to do is drop some RCT, Earl runs up, tries to Thin Icebreaker Mahoraga's head or chest, it face tanks it, the wheel turns, and now suddenly it's immune to that. So now you really have no win con. That's it. That is diabolical that Mahoraga can just take out a character like Earl, who is relative to base Yuta, and even, I'd say, able to eat hits from full power Yuta. But unfortunately, once again, she's lacking the thing you need to beat Mahoraga. A big, bad, stupid Dragon Ball attack that can wipe the thing off the map in one hit. And unfortunately, she just doesn't have that. I mean, I could mention Kurushi, but, like, Kurushi also gets negged, like, entirely. I don't know. There's nothing Kurushi can do. So there's the whole Sendai colony. We already covered Tokyo number 2. I don't think I need to cover Reggie or Higuruma and why they would... Like, what would happen if Higuruma even tried to take Mahoraga to jail? I think we'll just stab the domain again. Like, a straight thing would be like, I need a legally appointed attorney, and just stab the crowd, and immediately free itself from Higuruma's domain. So, like, all the major Culling Games participants just don't do anything to it. Like, legitimately, Kashimo can't do anything, Hakari can't do anything, Yuta can't do anything, Earl can't do anything. Wait a minute. Kurushi can't do anything. But there's one more person from Sendai. One more Chad who may be able to come and save us all. It could be the main man, the myth, the legend himself. Ryu would actually just destroy himself in a battle with Mahoraga. There are a couple issues here, right? When it specifically comes with Ryu versus Mahoraga, because technically Ryu is one of the most perfect characters to fight Mahoraga. Why? Because he literally does have a big, dumb, stupid, high output, crazy laser blast. Like that blast, that granite blast in particular that he uses to introduce himself in the Sendai free-for-all, or specifically the battle between Earl and Yuta. Yeah, that blast should be enough to encompass Mahoraga entirely. And realistically, if you think that blast has the highest output, then it should be able to destroy Mahoraga in one shot, should vaporize him. So why do I think Ryu still loses? So let me establish just a quick little scaling chain for y'all. And this is just speed scaling. We're not even going to talk about what actually happens. But let's just do some quick speed scaling. So Ryu is relative to Yuta in speed. This does not necessarily matter. Just remember this. Ryu is relative to Yuta in speed. And then Ryu goes on to run into not 20 finger, not 19 finger, not 18 finger, not 17 finger, not 60 finger, but a 15 finger Maguna. And then this Ryu gets not just blitzed, but perception blitz. 15 finger Maguna literally hit a dance move on Brody. And then bada bing, bada boom. He was done. So in terms of just raw speed, considering Mahoraga is able to tag a faster Sukuna, like notably, right now, while Sukuna is inhabiting specifically Itadori and Megumi's bodies, not going back to his original form, I do think the Yuji body is stronger, just in terms of raw physicals. Is it a better overall body for Sukuna? No, once again, because it's a cage that works no matter what. And two, the other major issue is that Megumi has the 10 shadows, which Yuji doesn't. Yuji does not have a curse technique right now, as far as we know of. So with that being the case, in terms of sheer physicality, 15 finger Sukuna in Shibuya should be more impressive than 15 finger Sukuna in Sendai. In terms of just raw physical movement speed and stuff like that, in terms of combat speed. We know how cursed energy reinforcement works. 15 fingers and 15 fingers, they should have the same level of cursed energy. It's just that Itadori, since he has a better physical base than Megumi, and Sukuna specifically stayed in Megumi's body, then Itadori should be the faster body. Is it the overall better body? I'd say no. The 10 Shadows is way too important a buff for Sukuna, especially right now. But in terms of raw speed, it should be pretty clear that the Itadori body is faster. And guess what? Ryu was not able to tag the 15-finger Maguna once. You know what 15-finger, not even 15-finger, Megumi Mahoraga, not even Sukuna Mahoraga, not 15-finger Sukuna, not, I was about to do the reverse bit, but I'm not going to do it, but not even a 15-finger Maguna Mahoraga, no, a Megumi Maguna Mahoraga, not a Megumi Maguna Mahoraga, that's redundant, but a Megumi Mahoraga was able to tag 15-finger Sukuna. Did it do any real damage? No, but still, it was able to tag 15-finger Itadori body Sukuna. That is more than Ryu can lay claim to, and thusly, if Ryu's getting perception blitzed by a slower 15-finger, then yeah, a stronger Mahoraga is going to perception blitz the soul out of Ryu, and likely just beat him to death. Notably, Ryu is super duper bulky, but something in my heart of hearts tells me that a sword to the temple is still going to be a sword to the temple, and that 20-finger Sukuna is likely, if I just had to take a guess, much, much, much stronger than Yuta. And thusly, even if it takes a lot of hits, yeah, I'd say Mahoraga with 20-finger Sukuna levels of cursed energy backing it up is going to be more than enough to take out Ryu eventually. Though admittedly, out of all the people so far, I think Ryu would put up the best fight, mainly because of his bulk. He's able to eat his own highest output attacks. He's able to basically no-sell all of Yuta's damage, even while super low on cursed energy. So, like, I do think Ryu stands a better chance of lasting for more than 10 seconds. But I don't think I just don't see bro actually winning. Even with the massive, gigantic Granite Blast, if it lands, then maybe you could argue, since it's the highest output ever and yada yada yada, then maybe, just maybe, it could actually beat Mahoraga. But in my heart of hearts, I feel like Mahoraga would just speed blitz Ryu before it could even do that, in a very similar vein to what its master did against Ryu, which caused Ryu to get up in a pack. But speaking of Sendai, who was in Sendai? Like, Ryu got perception blitzed by Sukuna because he was in Sendai. But what was Sukuna going to Sendai for? That's weird. Oh, yeah, Yorozu. We saw this. We saw this, y'all. We saw this. Especially, here's the thing, especially if it works like a video game where Mahoraga has the save data of every single person he's adapted to, then True Spirit wouldn't work. Shoot, the domain expansion wouldn't work. And none of that would work. Like, Mahoraga, at 15 fingers worth of curse energy supporting it, was still more than enough to absolutely annihilate Yorozu. So, there's no reason a much, much stronger Mahoraga that's backed by 20 finger levels of cursed energy shouldn't be able to absolutely body bag her. Like, legitimately would put Yorozu in a pack so fine, Sukuna may even want to taste. Which is the only time Sukuna would put his lips on Yorozu. But with that being the case, yeah, Yorozu just stands no chance. Maybe if you want to argue it doesn't work like a video game, like you think that every time Mahoraga gets summoned, or it gets put away. He needs to adapt to everything again. So let's say Mahoraga at 20 fingers doesn't have the creation adaptation. Mahoraga still speed blitzes and one taps. I hate to say it, but it would just absolutely annihilate her. And especially considering the liquid metal and stuff like the bug armor wouldn't even really work that well, because guess what? They're infused with cursed energy, and you know what Mahoraga has? A sword infused with positive energy, so those things would be absolutely shattered. And even something like the True Spear, I don't think Yorozu would have time to get it out. Mahoraga would just annihilate her beforehand. And even if True Spear were to try and hit, Mahoraga could probably adapt. Bro's a Chad. He could do it. Mahoraga could definitely do it. So unfortunately, even the mighty Yorozu is nothing to the mad divine general Mahoraga. But dude, we're running out of characters here. You're telling me there's nobody in the entire verse with what we've seen so far that could beat Big Daddy Mahoraga? Daddy's home Mahoraga? It's getting pretty rough, because I hate to say it. Even Kenjaku, as a Jaku Jacker, as I've come to call myself when it comes to really thinking about Kenjaku, as a Jaku Jacker, I have to say this. Even Kenjaku doesn't have a real win con against Mahoraga. Because think about it. What big bad booty blaster attacks does Kenjaku have outside of Uzumaki? But once again, how big is Uzumaki? Is it big enough to encompass Mahoraga's entire body? Or is what going to happen is that, you know, I don't know, maybe, just maybe, Kenjaku sees, oh, this is that thing from the 10 Shadows technique. Either A, I'm going to run, or B, I'm going to fire an Uzumaki at it. And as I'm firing the Uzumaki, then I'm running. Because legitimately, Kenjaku should also just be like Perception Bliss and one tap. Like there's no reason for Kenjaku to even put up half a decent fight against Mahoraga. Because, I mean, it's Mahoraga. And also, just instead of just using the, oh, it's Mahoraga thing, look at Kenny's techniques. Okay, the anti-gravity technique. He slams Mahoraga to the ground, Mahoraga adapts to gravity manipulation, and then that's done. Cursed Spirit manipulation, even with the thousands upon thousands upon thousands that you could hypothetically sick on Mahoraga, Mahoraga would just tear through them all. Once again, he has the positive energy blade. That is something he has literally taped to his arm. So thusly, all the Shikigami would just one by one fall to the mighty divine general. Then Kenny's just running away. Like, he has to. Kenny cannot win a head-to-head fight. Physically, can likely win mentally and battle IQ wise, but like every other stat goes to Mahoraga the Meathead, because Mahoraga the Meathead is broken. So even Kenjaku, a character who, well, if you include Mahoraga as a part of other people's kits, very specifically Sukuna's kits, then I'd say Kenny's number 3. But if you do go out of your way to give Mahoraga his own spot, then Mahoraga's at number 3. Because nothing that Kenny has to offer can actually one-shot Mahoraga. Even Kenny's crazy, well, probably reverse curse domain, like whatever, his crazy burialist domain wouldn't do enough damage. If Yuki can face tank the gravity technique for long enough, I think big, juicy, thick, divine, divergent daddy Mahoraga can definitely eat a gravity smack or two, adapt to that, and then Chad walk up to Kenjaku and one-tap him. If Kenjaku doesn't get immediately speed blitz for trying to fight Mahoraga in the first place, which is more likely to happen, considering, once again, need I remind you, Kenjaku was shaken and quivering and nearly dookie in his pants over seeing 15-finger Sukuna and Gojo clash. Then you have Mahoraga, who was able to tag, I keep bringing it up, but tag Itadori body Sukuna, who should be faster. So I don't see Kenny getting out of this alive. I think Kenny finally gets his plan stopped by a good old slice of the dome piece by Big Daddy Mahoraga. That's kind of it. So even Kenny doesn't stand a chance. Who could hypothetically stand a chance? Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Wait a minute. There's one character. We've already talked about some who have left this world. But there's one character who may have hope. Maybe. Just maybe. And that character is Yuki Tsukumo. Now, I do believe Yuki may be the only one outside of a character that I haven't talked about yet and another character I haven't talked about yet. Yuki may be the only one that's not like a literal deity that could actually beat Mahoraga conventionally. And here's why, right? If you believe that Yuki could apply enough mass to Garuda and perform a strong enough blue lock kick that Mahoraga gets its wheel destroyed or gets a major chunk blown in it, like the massive elephant curse. If you think that can happen, then Yuki can win. Because she should, for all intents and purposes, be able to one-shot it. Even with punches, because, like, her hits just do extreme amounts of damage. But if you think what I actually think, in the fact that I think Yuki's way too slow to actually tag Mahoraga with any of her hits, I still think Yuki loses. Especially considering Yuki has solid enough speed scaling. Direct speed scaling to Kenjaku is really, really good. A lot of characters wish they could put that on their resume. But, like, once again, Kenjaku's quivering in his boots at a 15-finger Maguna. Not to talk about a 15-finger Itadori. Not to talk about a 20-finger Sukuna empowered Mahoraga. Like, come on now. The tiers are just a little bit different here in terms of speed. And Mahoraga, once again, should be able to one-tap her. A blade to the head, a blade to the gut, a blade to the back. Just whatever it takes, Mahoraga is likely very able to do it. Even against Yuki Tsukumo, which sounds crazy considering Yuki has literally everything. The only win con I could hypothetically see for Yuki is if she doesn't play games and she just immediately grabs Mahoraga while trying to bisect her and drops a black hole in its head. That's it. That's the only way I can see Mahoraga actually getting taken out by Yuki in particular, because I don't think Yuki will be able to land anything else. But even then, by the time Yuki realizes what she needs to do, it's going to be too late. She's going to be bisected, decapitated, whatever images you need to appear within your head. Yeah, she lost, essentially. She would lose against Mahoraga. There's just no way. And those are realistically all the heavy hitters. Suguru Geto's obviously going to do worse than Kenjaku since he has less techniques and less experience. I mean, Yuta is still just, his hacks just aren't good enough. He can't do it. If only there was someone who specialized in vanquishing the evil. Oh wait, yeah, we have Angel. Now, Angel's interaction with Meguna was weird, but it does show, it's weird, but it does show that Angel can tag 15-finger Maguna from a relatively decent distance away too. Like, notably, it's not like Angel pulled up directly in Sukuna's face and then speed boost him. No, Angel was up in the heavens radiating cursed energy, and Sukuna was still hit by Jacob's ladder. So it could be argued that Angel is quick enough to actually tag Megami Mahoraga. But even then, you can make the argument that she isn't, mainly because, guess what? I've said it before and I'll say it again. Megami body Sukuna is weaker than Itadori body Sukuna, and thus is slower, just because of how their bases work out. So I still don't think it works out. I think Mahoraga still just definitively has the speed advantage. I'm just one taps. It feels weird saying Mahoraga one taps everybody, but I'm sorry, his stats are just too good. And that's Megami Mahoraga. Not to talk of 20-finger Sukuna Mahoraga. Sure, there are no visual differences, but you know that boy's even more jacked and juicy than before. So, realistically, just no one has a real win con. It's super duper wait a minute. Nobody. Kingdom Hearts? No, I'm talking about Gojo and Sukuna now. Now, here's the thing, right? Once again, specifically covering Sukuna, if it works like a save file, then Mahoraga, but then again, here's the issue with that. Mahoraga lost to the Flame Arrow. So it didn't have time to adapt to the Flame Arrow because it got destroyed. The wheel didn't get destroyed, but Mahoraga itself got destroyed. So maybe that's it. Maybe the wheel does reset, but it only resets for things that it didn't get to adapt to, like the Flame Arrow technique. So essentially, Sukuna has to immediately resort to that, because Mahoraga should now be super adapted to Domain, super adapted to Cleaving Dismantle. So that's Sukuna's only win con that we know of so far. Because Velvet Shrine wouldn't work, obviously, realistically. If Velvet Shrine wouldn't work, nothing else is gonna work. So yeah, you gotta keep an eye on Mahoraga Sukuna. Don't let that thing while out on you. It may just while out on you, and then that's it. Because Sukuna really doesn't have that many means. And for Gojo, I don't know. Since we're talking about the new Mahoraga, I think Gojo could have easily one-tap 15 fingers, well, not just 15 finger Maguna, but also the original Mahoraga that we saw. But this current one, I don't know. It seems like it's adapted to everything. It ain't purple, seemingly enough. Its wheel probably turned then. It has red. It has blue. It has literally everything. It literally has all of Gojo's data. So I don't think it can really do anything. Like, I don't think Gojo can do anything with his current arsenal, because his whole current arsenal has been adapted to. From Unlimited Void to Hollow Purple, Gojo's used everything. And that leaves the whole verse in a rough spot, where the only hypothetical person that could control this monster is the same guy who kinda just doesn't care what the monster would do. So yeah, it's a really rough spot for the world of JJK with the introduction of the Divine General Mahoraga in his newest and truest form. However, that's what I think. Please what do you guys think in the comment section down below. Do you guys think that I am right that pretty much no one in the series except for maybe Sukuna himself at this point can stop the new Mahoraga, or do you think I'm wrong? Do you have other characters that you think could step in and go absolutely crazy on the insane and next level Divine General? Please let me know in the comment section down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Make sure the notification bell so you do not miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do have a Patreon down below. You can support me for as low as $1 a month to get things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. You can also now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Now, thank you guys so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is Dago the Pencil, writing off.